Oh,
Okay.
easily.
Good.
Hey, good morning, my fine friends. Welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL Showdown Strategy Show. Dude, bit of a mix-up. Not even a mix-up today, just a whirlwind of events. First of all, you don't usually have Friday night football, which is one thing. I had to knock out a betting video this morning. Ben had to knock out, and listen, nobody's complaining here. Ben had to knock out a college video. Ben was not scheduled for this show either. Danny Burke, who was scheduled, had something come up, and Ben swooped in. But I love doing shows with Ben, so I'm very happy about this, brother. I appreciate you taking the time. I know everybody's busy this time of year, but what else would you rather be doing than a show with your old friend?
Oh, yeah. Like a tornado. I woke up, I went to Twitter. First thing I saw was you posting tornado videos. That's what it feels
Why didn't you
like
that video? That was a sick video.
I didn't.
You should have hit the heart. Okay. Instead, you just shadow watched it on me.
I did shadow watch. And yeah, the other thing I did, I woke up and I said to myself, man, that was a brutal showdown. I get a little time to disconnect from showdown. I don't have to think about showdown. I can focus on college football. No more than 45 minutes later, I'm on this fine show talking showdown. I wouldn't have it any other way. We go to Brazil. Your birds, quite a game. The sim was in full force last night with the script writers. They had all sorts of things I couldn't think of happening.
Dude, first of all, can I talk about threading the needle a little bit as an Eagles fan? I had the +5.5 on the Cowboys, which I didn't bet until after the Micah Parsons news. What I actually had was several positions on Cowboys +7 that I bet back in, dude, I bet them in this late spring. I really thought that you'd get the 6.5. I really liked the Cowboys there. But then the Micah Parsons, have you ever seen a defensive player move a line like 2 points?
I mean, if there was one to do it, it would be him. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, like all the teasers got there. So that's step one for most people. Like the moneyline parlays got there. It was just one of the dumbest runouts I've ever seen, particularly if you had the over.
Yep. Yeah, right.
Yeah. But I didn't, thank God.
By threat, yeah, there were 3 points in the second half total. And there's no doubt in my mind that hour and 10-minute lightning delay, had an impact there. What I mean by threading the needle, though, is I'm an Eagles fan. So my hope, I had side bets with people, and the one guy who's an Eagles fan, I was like, my hope is that the Eagles win and the Cowboys cover. Mm-hmm. And when you've got a 7-point spread at the time, that's very plausible in a divisional spot. So that's always a good feeling. You get the win and you cover. We'll take it. But yeah, man, Jaylen Carter spitting on Dak Prescott. That's a wild thing to do. I mean, I know Dak Prescott spit from the huddle and then approached him. And I think he knew he might get him to do something a little bit dumb. But Jaylen Carter with the ref just right there spits on his jersey. Insane.
Yeah, on the kickoff. So it was just, I don't know. It was a weird game, obviously. The AJ Brown was not involved at all.
One target, one reception.
Yeah, Devontae Smith, he was more involved than AJ Brown negligibly. I mean, he barely did any. It was just a weird game, but it's the first game. I don't read a ton into it. We knew the Eagles were good. Dallas, they'll be fine. Dak, I thought, played well. It was right there for the taking.
I mean, the best defender in the fourth quarter for the Eagles was CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah,
he
had a rough.
CeeDee Lamb made one of those catches, this game probably looks a whole lot different.
Yes.
Because I know one was a difficult catch, but Dak was firing some beauties downfield. So
he put him in position. So yeah, and it was on the showdown front. It was pretty reasonable in my mind, but obviously Dotson was you needed him to really get there, and that was not someone that I personally had really in the pool.
So especially when, Devontae didn't do much, AJ Brown didn't do much. Barkley was fine, right? He scored, but yeah. Hurts really showcased the rushing upside yesterday. I think he knew that he needed to, for sure. And then, Dak, it's funny, he played a good game, but you look at his fantasy scoring, he didn't do much because Javonte vultured 2 touchdowns.
Yep. It's just a weird game. So
very
onward to the Amazon.
On to the Amazon. Yeah. And I'll just say this much. DC said Jaylen Carter will not see a second contract with Philly. Howie is too smart. I disagree. I think he will get paid. I think it was a dumb decision. I've listened to this man speak many times. I really like him. And I think obviously he snaps sometimes and makes bad decisions. Obviously, people are going to point towards the racing accident, right, at college that resulted in a fatality. Not good. However, Ben, he was instrumental in them winning a Super Bowl, and he's arguably like the best interior defensive lineman in the game. I think Howie will sign him to another contract.
I mean, I think you know how I feel about Jaylen Carter. I texted you on draft night when
you said best
him.
Pick in the draft.
Like he will have many chances to screw up because he's that good. So
that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. When you're that good, you get a lot of get out of jail free cards. And he's a hell of a player. Some bad decisions, obviously, but I don't think anybody on the field is like, man, this guy is anything but spectacular.
When Shiloh Sanders, when people were crying all types of stuff about, why he got cut and this and that for that fight, right, towards the end zone in a preseason game, it's to your point exactly. If he was a sick player, are they cutting him if they drafted him in the first round? You know what I mean? No.
Never.
They sweep it under the rug. It all comes down to, is this guy going to help us win? That's it. And I think Howie knows that as well. Anyway, you ready to talk a little football? I'm very excited for this game, this match.
This is going to be an awesome game. You got a divisional matchup again, competitive storylines, new players that I want to talk about. Lot to get to here.
Yep. Well, Spencer, while you are shocked that George Pickens wasn't the first guy ejected, he did take an unnecessary rough. Like he's still, they called him Pittsburgh Pickens.
He tried to.
He's still the guy. Anyway, if you guys don't mind, take a single second this fine morning, atone for your sins, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. As Ben will tell you, it is 100% free to do. If you hate it, unsubscribe. You can even come back. You could scour the videos, find this one, and unlike it, and even hit the thumbs down twice if you'd like. But in the meantime, go ahead, hit that thumbs up, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. We try and read and respond to all of them. Appreciate all of that. I got the Sims Rem. We got exposures. This is always a good matchup where Mahomes typically gets the best of Justin Herbert. However, there is a part of me, Ben, I just did this betting video. Man, there's a part of me that thinks, whatever type of strange elixir, clutch game elixir Reed and Mahomes have, that it wears off eventually. Like I'm looking at a team that had, do you remember some of the wins they had last year against Denver, where Denver was going to kick a routine field goal and it got blocked, or where Antonio Pierce could have just done something very simple. Instead, they botch. I think it might have been even a shotgun snap. I think he was in shotgun formation. They botched that. Chiefs get the ball and win that game when the Raiders had the lead. Panthers almost beat them, and I'm missing other games. Like Isaiah Likely, foot on the line or heel on the line in the back of the end zone. How many games last year did they win by insanely narrow margins?
Yeah, I mean, that was the theme of the whole year. They were winning, they weren't covering, they didn't look impressive, and they're a great team. But if you play in games like that, even if you're a great team, you're playing a really high variance game, because all it takes is one. I mean, how many game-winning field goals did they hit or have the other team miss? It was a string of them. So I get it. It's a new season. I'd still say that the Chargers are on, I don't know if they have a window per se, because it's such a saturated AFC, but it seems like they're still building towards something. Like they're a serious threat.
Maybe it's like a blocker that I have here, a bias. I like Justin Herbert. Chargers have always oddly been one of those teams that, as an Eagles fan, I root for the Chargers. They're
a cool team.
They're a fun team. I always love the powder blues and the, LaDainian Tomlinson and the powder blue. Antonio Gates is one of my favorite players ever. So, you're nodding in agreement. Like this has always kind of been a fun Phillip Rivers, right? And
all those teams.
Yeah. They've always been fun. But I also think they're good. And, I like Herbert. I like what they're doing in the pass catching situation. Like you have Ladd, they brought Keenan Allen back, which is fine, whatever. But Quentin Johnston actually had a solid second half of the season last year. Outside of that one game where he dropped 8 passes against Baltimore.
My guy.
They have players, man. They just drafted Trey Harris. They got a couple other young guys. Marion Hampton is another one where like this guy might be good. Also, I like Jim Harbaugh. I think Greg Roman, now that he's got the guys he wants in the backfield, can have a good team. And can I give you a fun nugget here? Herbert was on the Dan Patrick show earlier this summer, and he talked about how he wanted to use his legs to extend plays more. Now, could this just be talk? Maybe. But if you look at a guy like Herbert, when he's healthy, right? Because this guy will play through anything. He's truly a warrior. Like he played through the plantar fascia, he'll play through the ankle. When he's healthy, he can move. Go look at some of his rushing totals when he's healthy, like late in the season. He actually said he wants to be more like Josh Allen, which I found really fascinating given that they're almost the exact same size. I like over 13.5 rushing yards today. I also just like Justin Herbert in this spot at a sub 10K price point.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. Health has been the thing now. Hopefully the offensive line holds up. They already lost a key piece because they're the Chargers and stupid shit happens to them.
That was brutal,
huh? Can they mask that? Sure. Is it a good thing? It's definitely not a good thing. But yeah, Herbert, just going back to his college years, it's a choice with his rushing upside. He's very capable to move. He's not Lamar, of course, but he can move if he needs to. And I hope he does do some of that. Get in that. We talk about this during the playoffs more, but like there is a tier of quarterbacks, like Mahomes is a great example of like they're not crazy dual threats, but they can get you 25 rushing yards when they need to.
You know the way I like to look at it, it's like you have Lamar Jackson, but the funny thing is I don't even put Josh Allen in the same rushing category as Lamar Jackson. Like I put him, he can run up the middle, he can score a lot of touchdowns, right? But he's a more big-bodied runner.
Like Cam Newton to me.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
like even TD equity is higher with Josh. But Josh Allen to me, the TD equity on the ground is where he gets his. Not
exactly. Yeah, I actually would put like Allen and Hurts more in the same bucket as rushers.
Yeah,
and Lamar Jackson. And this isn't to say like they'll score more touchdowns than Lamar Jackson. But if I asked you which one's more likely to rip off a 60-yard run, it's Lamar. But you're right. There's this other bucket where you have like your Justin Herberts, even Patrick Mahomes if he has to run. Yeah. CJ Stroud was a guy you loved last year in the postseason rushing upside because you knew he could. He just tries not to. And then you have your Matthew Staffords.
Yeah. Burrow.
Right? Your Kirk Cousins. Yeah. That will not run. And I like having that additional upside. You look at his rushing. Last year he had 5 for 65 in one, 9 for 32, 4 for 49. And this is when he started getting healthier again. 4 for 42 rushing towards the end of the year. There's just a lot to like, I think, about Justin Herbert at this price point in this offense.
No doubt. And clearly we're not breaking any news here. When you have lower body injuries, I'm sure his thought in a lot of these games last year was basically under no circumstance am I going to run.
No.
But here, healthy, ready to go. I mean, and of course, listen, the quarterbacks are always popular. You see it on the screen, but he is someone that I'm going to have interest in both, of course, as a flex play, but I will have some pretty healthy Herbert captain tonight.
So will I. Matt Riley, it will still be a Chiefs home game in Brazil watch, but I was commenting on Loughy's Chargers comment, not today's game. Matt, no, that's not true. I mean, yes, will the Chiefs fans travel better than the Chargers fans? Of course. But the difference is the venue itself. The noise that is contained within Arrowhead Stadium. Now, I'm not going to act like I know about this Sao Paulo stadium, but my guess, Ben, is it's not like the Arrowhead contains noise to the point where like that place is registering on the Richter scale. So while you may have more Chiefs fans, you can't tell me that this is the equivalent of a Chiefs home game. You simply can't.
Well, no, for many, many reasons, because the first one would be it's not
Travel.
a Chiefs home game. Like, they're going to a foreign country.
Yeah.
You're not sleeping in your own bed. Like, there's a million other factors, but I mean, and the line reflects this. You're talking about a very competitive 3-point spread here. So this is going to be a coin toss type game.
Definitely. Jake, I don't think that's what Matt means. By the way, what's up, Matt, Jake, McNasty, all you fellas? Glad to have you here. McNasty, crowd makes no difference. Let's play in empty stadiums then. Yes, it does. But it's not just a crowd. It's, as Ben pointed out, it's the actual location.
Yeah,
right?
The elements. Like, I mean, it's early in the season, but if it's freezing, if it's hot, if it's at elevation, all of these things, one team is more acclimated.
Yeah. But I agree. Like, I think that the location in general is more important than the crowd. But some of these stadiums are insane, man, as far as like home field goes. But yeah, I like Herbert. We'll go position by position in this one. They'll probably do it a little bit differently on Live Before Lock, so stick around for that today. What about Patrick Mahomes on the other side? I think we both agree, and I'm looking at the Sims right now, that Justin Herbert, as we are currently getting more of him at flex than anybody else, but also we're getting Patrick Mahomes second most exposed guy at flex is Patrick Mahomes. And then our third and fourth, respectively, are Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes at captain.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing, raw points, we have Mahomes right at the top. And it's not, unlike the game last night, and maybe I'm missing something, but to me, it was a little easier in this game to find some cheap value that at least has a chance. Last night, and it turned out there was some, but when I was running the Sims and whatnot, you had Granson, you had Schoon, like you were drawing pretty thin pretty quickly. If you
it was gross.
There
was a point where I thought that where Will Shipley was going to be like a must-have.
It was close. I mean, it was close. Miles Sanders also could have been a must-have if he just ran faster, but
that's true. Yeah,
like that would have been a build. Javonte and Miles Sanders. That's triple mega mind. But this game, to me, the pricing's not at a premium. You have value, so. I know we're talking very generic, and this is very obvious, but both quarterbacks are so far in play, it's not even funny. And I may just say I will leverage with my other 4 spots. Majority of my teams will have both of them.
I think the majority of you're saying the majority of teams will have both of them.
I'm saying for me, for my portfolio, yeah. I'm going to have just a lot of very standard. One of them at captain, one of them in flex, both of them at flex, and one of their wide receivers as my captain. Just very, very normal structures with the quarterbacks.
Nino asks, can the Chargers run the ball or will they be one-dimensional? That's the key to LA having a chance to win. I don't fully disagree with you here. They need to be able to run the football. When they did that early in the year with J.K. Dobbins, even Gus Edwards, remember the first handful of games, those guys, like J.K. Dobbins, just like 140 yards on 8 touches. And then the run game dissolved. I mean, it disappeared. But also, it's hard. Justin Herbert was hurt. There's no doubt about it. Justin Herbert played hurt through probably what would you say? Probably 5 games, maybe more.
Yeah, it was pretty quick. And the Chargers, for what it's worth, they were still right on the fringe, but they were top 10 in rush play percentage last year. They want to run the football.
Yeah. I mean, it's Greg Roman.
Yeah.
And it's Jim Harbaugh. Like, what do you? Yeah, of course. Just to put a bow on quarterbacks here, though, looking at lineups in the Sims, you've got Mahomes. I'm trying to see here. Here's a Herbert Mahomes. Here's another Herbert Mahomes.
Yeah, you're going to get a lot of that.
2 of the top 3 are Herbert Mahomes. As far as Simmed ROI, 3 of the top 4. There's a lot of this. What's the build look like, though? Okay, so you can see this on your screen, guys. Ladd McConkey, Dicker the kicker, Hollywood Brown. That actually makes a lot of sense to me. Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Trey Harris. Can't wait to talk about him when we get to wide receiver now that Keenan Allen has re-signed and reunited with the Chargers. You're right. Even Keandre Lambert-Smith, who had a great preseason, looked sharp. He's a guy that's popping up in some lineups. Interesting to see this, man. You're right. Yesterday, there were guys that it just felt gross. Also, this Oronde Gadsden fella, every report, by the way, tight end for the LA Chargers, if you're unfamiliar with him, every report that I've seen out of camp was that, like, hey, this guy could surprise a lot of people. Now, take that with a grain of salt, but I've seen a lot like this guy might be good.
Yeah, he's a problem. I mean, again, I come from the college streets, and they're just physically, he stood out. Kind of one of those like positionless guys. He's too big for most corners, but he's too fast for linebacker. Like he's kind of a,
like a unicorn.
That's what tight end's becoming. More and more. He could be, again, I'm not immersed in is this and that, but he's got a lot of things that would be enticing. And so this is what I'm saying though. How many guys did we just rattle off sub 4 that are in the conversation? We know most of them are going to bust, but some of these guys are going to be heavily involved tonight.
Yeah, and we haven't even scratched the surface on these guys yet. I mean, what about a guy like Noah Gray, who, in my opinion, Noah Gray is the prototypical like showdown winner sometimes. And he's also good. Like Noah Gray is better than he gets credit for. He's been overshadowed by Travis Kelce for however many years, but this could be a Noah Gray spot where he has 3 for 40 and a touchdown at 1,600, Ben.
Noah Gray is in the optimal showdown lineup, even when the Chiefs aren't on showdown. Like it's just like, oh, Packers Lions, Noah Gray, he appears. He is crazy. It's insane. That guy is always involved. But the thing it's a blessing and the curse with the Chiefs. The way they play, particularly in the red zone, their touchdown equity is so dispersed. And with cheap guys, if you score, even if that's your only target, there's a very real chance that that's all you need. And we have seen that time and time again with these weird wide receivers, with weird running backs, all sorts of formations. And so Noah Gray, he is the type of guy. I mean, Justin Watson did that for a long time. It only takes one, and the Chiefs will not hesitate to look to these guys in the most crucial moments in the red zone.
Yep. You're right. Or it's like a shovel pass to an offensive lineman.
Yes.
But they do this. You remember the Super Bowl that they won against the Eagles? What was it, like 2023 or whatever? And it was, I think in order to be optimal, you needed Sky Moore or something like that. It was in the optimal.
Yeah, that tracks.
You remember that game
Hardman. Where every year.
Or Hardman. I think it was both of them that scored. I think Hardman and Sky Moore both had touchdowns.
Yeah, that's about how it goes. And now the floor for Noah Gray legitimately is 0 targets. Like he just is a non-factor, but it's still such a worthwhile dart throw at 1,600. I mean, how much does that open up? We'll see where the ownership goes, but I wouldn't be stunned if I get some shares.
We're going to get into all of that. Let's talk about the running back position, though. I think we can both agree before I move on that that Mahomes and Herbert, I don't want to say primarily at flex because we're still getting, some of these guys at captain, actually a decent amount, 25% combined, but we can agree that these guys are going to be fixtures in lineups today.
Correct.
Yeah. Also, they're not that expensive either, which kind of helps. All right, let's go ahead and position. Oh, can I not filter by running back here? I guess not, huh? I know that's something we were going to change to where we could actually do that.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, that's actually something that I know Jeff has in the works, so we can just filter by that. But anyway,
I mean, if you go to the data, I don't know. The Data Hub has it, but
yeah, I want to look at exposures though.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's not the worst idea. All right, that's a good idea. All right, go into ownership here. Hampton is going to be popular. Pacheco is going to be relatively popular. And then you got guys like Najee and Kareem Hunt, I mean, man, even when Kareem Hunt, I don't know, you and I haven't talked about him. Typically we talk about this stuff all the time, even off camera, but even Kareem Hunt, or last year, even when he was having some of those big games, it still felt like Kareem Hunt didn't have much in the tank. It would be like 23 for 101, and they just mercilessly and stubbornly gave the ball to Kareem Hunt and slowly moved the ball downfield until he fell into the end zone.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like at certain points last year, they just knew they didn't really have to be cognizant of keeping this guy fresh, because at some point they would have reinforcements in that backfield, and it wasn't going to be there on efficiency. So if he got that type of volume, unless you're seeing something that I am not, I really don't expect any type of crazy volume in that regard tonight in that backfield. Pacheco is someone, I'm a Pacheco fan. He runs crazy hard. But Kareem Hunt's, just for context, you're looking at a 6.5 carry prop out there.
What's Pacheco at?
11.5. So,
okay.
And I agree with that. I think that Pacheco certainly gets the lion's share, and I wouldn't be surprised, particularly if the Chiefs, are winning, for Pacheco to have 13, 14 carries tonight.
Pacheco was awful when he returned from that injury last year over the final, including the postseason, probably the final 8 games or so. How much of that is just, hey, look, it is what it is, and it's different this year. The offensive line looks a little bit better. I guess what I'm asking is, how much should we take away from what we saw when he returned from injury last year, and how much should we be looking at him and going, you know what, this guy runs hard, and the fewer guys are going to try and pick up an additional yard more than this guy. So I don't know. Is there a balance there?
I mean, there's definitely a balance, but when you have, it's week 1, this is the time to make stands. Like, if Pacheco returns to vintage form, you missed it. You can't just go say, oh, well, now I know, I'll buy next week. Well, the window is open. You missed it. So for me, and I look at those games, I'm not going to say that he was good, because he was not. But after the first few games, you're talking about sample sizes of like 6, 8, 5 carries. So yeah, he was gaining like 3 yards a carry, and he didn't look great. But he wasn't like 22 carries for 45 yards either. He didn't get that many opportunities as that season progressed, and they kind of phased him out of the offense.
That's also a fair point. He wasn't getting a ton of work in those spots either. But what I am asking you is, you see, and obviously the Vegas would suggest this as well, you see a clear path to Pacheco getting back to at least like a 60-40 or 65-35 split. That's kind of the way I see it. If I had to guess, I'd go like 65% of running back snaps, and then, some Eli Mitchell. I'm sorry, some Kareem Hunt. But do we think Eli Mitchell gets involved at all?
I mean, again, it's the Chiefs, and so there's always random guys. I still think that Pacheco gets more than the lion's share tonight. He's certainly getting the first opportunities, and unless he's wildly ineffective, like he fumbles, I think that he has paths to consolidate upwards of 3/4 of all the carries in the backfield.
I agree with you here. And I think relative to the potential, I'm not even going to say projected, but potential workload, because he's a big unknown today. That's fair to say, right? The workload for him is still, it's uncertain. At 7,600, there's still a lot of upside at that price point.
I like him. I like him at captain, because I think that in certain game scripts, we kind of saw this last night. The game was so drunk, but I think Pacheco really could have opportunities around the goal line, and I think it could be a low-scoring game tonight.
Looking at captain ownership in the Stokastic single game top plays tool, super valuable tool. I know we all use the Sims and the pre-contest Sims, the contest generator, the single lineup Sim, which we just made insane adjustments and improvements to. Ben and I'll build a lineup before we go. Oh, yeah. But don't sleep on these tools either. These were the first simulation tools pioneered by Alex Baker back when no one even knew what this stuff was. Like, these are still simulation tools in their own right. So Pacheco in this tool getting 5% captain. I don't mind it at all. 28% utility, 28% optimal in the utility. So it looks like he's pretty much getting owned where he should be, Ben. Maybe a guy you take a small stand on and you don't even have to get that much over the field.
You definitely don't need to make a big stand here. Absolutely not. But if you do want to make some type of stand, I think Pacheco's a decent spot to do it, because I think we're both saying the same thing. The range of outcomes I view as pretty big for this running back. And that's what you kind of want if you're going to fully leverage. Like if Pacheco plays, I say this a lot on Showdown, if Pacheco is awful, you're not going to be like, damn, I can't believe I used him as my captain. I wish I had him in the flex. Like you're screwed no matter where you have him for top end prizes.
Right.
Like it doesn't really matter if he completely gutter balls, whether he's your captain or your flex. Yeah, it may hurt your min cash equity. It doesn't really hurt your top 0.01% equity though. You're just dead.
It's a great point. And I should point out too, the player that we have the most negative leverage to. So within the Sims tool, all that means is that our exposure compared to the field, right? We're getting 1% Kareem Hunt. And if we're getting 1% at flex, I know we're not getting any at captain, 13% projected ownership, or really the pool ownership on the contest that I generated, 50,000. Now we've bumped this to last year was only 10,000 for Showdown. Now it's 50,000, which is a massive, massive improvement to these tools. The only way just a guess, weird things happen, but the only way in my opinion that Kareem Hunt gets there is if he just straight vultures touchdowns.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, you can't really project any type of like injury or fluke situation there, but Kareem Hunt catching a swing pass and scoring and it being a low scoring game is probably the biggest threat, but there's always a threat. I'm not considering a lot of Kareem Hunt tonight. He grades out, as you mentioned, the leverage scores. These are powerful tools, and I used them last night. I certainly will be using them tonight, and Kareem Hunt's probably on the outside looking in for me.
Same with Eli Mitchell?
Yes.
Yeah, me too. And if you plan on utilizing these tools today, guys, or any day, we got 3 promos that expire very shortly. These are week 1 promos. We don't do these often. 30% off any NFL monthly package. Now, by the way, don't worry about the promo code. Just click the description to expand it on the video or tap it if you're on your phone. All 3 of those links for the 3 promos that we have going on right now will auto load the promo when you check out. So you don't have to type anything. Just click the one you want, and that's all you got to do. 30% off any NFL monthly package. That's core or max. And we also just upped, this is very cool, for core, for those of you guys interested, we just upped the amount of lineups that you can generate in the contest generator. So both for Showdown and for regular slates, which is a big upgrade as well. More bang for your buck. We had the Thursday and Friday $1 deal. That was 50 cents for both the Thursday and Friday slate. But you know what? Still a value today. $1 for all of the contest today, all of the tools for tonight's slate in Brazil. That's still available. And then, guys, this one will be gone in 2 days, sorry. 10% off the entire year of NFL. Actually, a lot of people I was looking at the numbers today, Ben. A lot of people have taken advantage of this, probably realizing that as far as bang for your buck goes, there's not really, if you're planning on sticking around all season with the tools, you're going to save a ton of money doing the annual over the monthly, and then you're going to save a lot more money taking 10% off of it. So,
100%. And that was just to give you kind of a peek inside the glass. It's kind of how we wanted it. For people that know they've already used these tools, great. You don't have to think about it. You lock in, you save the most amount of money. If you know that you're going to be here for a little while and you want the monthly, great. If you're saying, I've seen these shows, I've never used tools like this, I'm not ready to commit for a month, for a year, totally respect that. I honestly wouldn't do that either blindly. $1, literally a single dollar, and you get your feet wet. You get to see the power of the tools. The reason we do that, because people who try these tools love it. That's the reality of it, and it helps you win money. The Millie Maker collages that we made speak to that. So we have 3 different price points. Find the one that works for you. And I mean, what's there to say? Why am I not on that? That's my only gripe about that.
Dude, I know. We had 3 Millie winners with the tools last year, 3 Stokastic avatars with the Millie. That's a pretty cool accomplishment for the subs and for everybody else involved, man. That was massive. And a Thanksgiving Millie winner as well.
I predicted a Millie winner. That was my best.
It was Rick who you predicted, by the way.
Yes, I did. I said someone from Stokastic's winning $1 million this week, and boom.
You were right. He did.
It wasn't me.
Okay. Amari and Hampton. Yes. Can you give us your, with someone who has more college football acumen than I do, even though I can tell you I like this kid, but can you give me your thoughts on him coming into this game? Tough matchup, no doubt. We saw what the Chiefs were able to do against Barkley in the Super Bowl, but that was also because they fully sold out to stop Saquon Barkley and then just got annihilated everywhere else. So, take that for what it's worth. But Hampton's $8K here. Najee Harris, the old firecracker, is expected to play. But does Hampton get a significant workload early on? How do you break down this backfield in week 1 with 2 guys who have never taken a snap for the LA Chargers in the regular season?
Yeah, I mean, so that's where it gets, again, opportunities, but also very tricky. And then you have what I don't want to say it's a bias, but from best ball to other things, people get excited to be, I can't wait to play this guy. First opportunity to play this guy. This guy looks amazing. If the Raiders were on Showdown, I mean, my God, what we would be talking about with Genty. So it's just like, I don't think it's a guarantee that he has the lion's share of this. And that is a little concerning because he is priced pretty aggressively. And for context, his rushing prop in terms of attempts mirrors Pacheco. Straight mirrors it, 11.5. And Najee's mirrors Kareem Hunt. So you could be looking at 2 backfields with similar breakdowns. The difference to me, though, Pacheco, I know he's coming off injury, but he's a little cheaper and he's been in the NFL. Like I worry a little about this explosive player, talented player. I'm bullish on him long term. I'm certainly not just jamming Hampton tonight.
I don't want to either. Also, I don't know if they're going to use Hassan Haskins more.
It could be.
There's some weird delay. What's that?
What'd you say?
So there's some delay on StreamYard is what I'm saying. So we got delayed and it's going to take a second to sync back up here. But what I was saying is I wouldn't be shocked if Hassan Haskins was also involved in this offense.
Chargers have shown for a long time they're more than willing to have, I don't want to say by committee, but a dispersal of carries. And if they're running the ball effectively, there could be enough volume. But what happens if they're not? And all these guys are underwhelming. Do they just say, all right, Herbert, go? I don't think that that's a crazy thought. So you always want exposure to talented players like this, but I'm not going to have, 40, 50% of this guy. There's just no way.
I don't want to do it either. That isn't to say that you couldn't see a great first game from him, but I'm also not convinced that you're just, we would both agree. I'm not going to say there's no world because there's a world for anything here, but the idea that Hampton comes out and just gets like 80% of the running back touches seems highly unlikely, right?
I mean, it's my classic, and you could say this for a lot of players, but you need to thread multiple things before we even get to the field. He needs to get that type of work. Then he needs to be good. And then the Chiefs have to not be effective in stopping the run. So he could have a lot of volume and just be ineffective. He could be effective and not have the backfield to himself. I worry a little about it. Again, the guy is super talented and he's got explosiveness. But man, I think he'll be overowned tonight. That's all I'll say.
11.5 rushing attempts prop for Hampton and for Pacheco. Very few books are offering anything on Najee. He's at 6.5 as well. So it's funny. The books actually have this breakdown identical between Amari and Hampton and Harris and Pacheco and Kareem Hunt.
Yeah. And I think the difference is the field does not have it. the same way. I don't think people are viewing these backfields as the same, and that could ultimately be an escape. And this guy, for the record, certainly not a zero in the passing game. Like, he can catch some balls, there's no doubt. But that's, again, a high variance thing. He might only have a couple targets coming out of that backfield.
I will say, though, looking at the tools here, captain ownership is identical right now as way, and we'll update these projections and ownership. Really, ownership as the day goes on. But Pacheco and Hampton almost identical here in top play probability and captain ownership. In optimal captain, Pacheco a little bit higher. Let's see, 2 to 6 probability, almost identical, 1.5% off. And then even utility ownership, they're pretty close, man. Less than 4% optimal utility. But the negative leverage clearly is more. Hampton is more negatively leveraged than Pacheco. There's no doubt about that. If you see this here, Pacheco is minus 0.7, that's negligible. And then minus 7.3 percent leverage for Hampton. So in the tools, at least, you would think that Pacheco would be a bit of a better play than Hampton, but really we're just getting the same amount of these guys pretty much everywhere.
Yeah. But I think that where the difference is the field. More people, and I get this. I think if you ask 10 people, who are you more excited to see tonight? Who are you more excited to play tonight? Hampton or Pacheco? 9 out of 10 are saying Hampton.
You're so right. The shiny new toy, right?
Yeah, it's an unknown. A mystery. Chat just said this. I'll take mystery box. Of course, that's exciting, and that may work out, but it is a mystery.
Dirty O, I'll take mystery box Hampton over Jag Pacheco being a battering ram. Jag, for those of you unaware, just a guy. Yeah, you have the shiny new toy and then the perceived rusty piece of shit. I guess a lot of people are going to. I'm speaking at him in terms, like not of a human, but of an object, of course. But no, you're right. And all of the projections and the props, so much of this would suggest that these guys are pretty much the same today. And I have a feeling you're right, that as the day goes on, Hampton's ownership projection starts, I don't want to say like getting away from Pacheco, but being a little bit wider of a gap. I'll do you one better, man. Do you know what their rushing yards props are?
I don't, but I assume by asking they're pretty similar.
They're identical at 48.5. Identical at 48.5. So, all of this. What about receiving props? Hampton 13.5, Pacheco 9.5. Okay, so a little
negligible.
It's negligible. And let's not pretend that Greg Roman is a big throw to the running backs type of guy either. So I'm with you, man. I think you make some good points there. Any other backs you want to talk about here? Or is it mostly like, hey, we'll get to Pacheco, we'll get to Hampton, but Pacheco gets the nod over Hampton for all the reasons we talked about?
Yeah, that's it. We did have a question about double running back builds with the Chargers. Wouldn't be my favorite build. If you build like that, I think you're clearly drawing to a really low scoring game. So it's it's a lotto build, I think.
I'm not really seeing any other running backs here. I just want to do this for the people. Scroll down. Najee Harris, we're getting 6%. Okay. That price point I don't love that price point, obviously.
That's the
Eli
problem.
Mitchell, 4. Kareem Hunt, 1. Let's talk about wide receivers here. So, you're getting into a position now where you have no Rashee Rice, of course, but you still have Xavier Worthy, who came on really strong last year. No surprise that a guy like Andy Reid wants to work his young guys in slowly, but then didn't have much of a choice because Hollywood Brown was out. Rice got hurt against the Chargers, I think, actually. I think it was against the Chargers. I don't know. But our highest exposed wide receivers, Ben. Lab McConkey, 45 at flex. Worthy, 38 at flex. And then you have to go down to Hollywood Brown at 21. Keenan Allen at 15, Quentin Johnston at 9. If you're talking about our captain exposures, Lad McConkey is our most exposed captain at 30%. That is very interesting here. And he probably one of the only skill players with a positively simmed ROI.
Yeah, I mean, he's been, He was amazing last year. He had some absolute dynamite games where you would need him in the captain. So he's definitely got the ceiling. No doubt about it. He's expensive. He should be. I have nothing bad to say about him. He's kind of in the quarterback bucket for me of just, you're going to want exposure, but he is the most expensive player on the slate. So if you're going with him, certainly a captain, you're going to have Herbert. I think it's pretty obvious, barring something really weird. I have trouble with Worthy. I know I want some. It's just a question of if he comes in, really popular, what exactly am I going to do there? Because you can't have all these guys. You can't have both quarterbacks and their top weapons. You're running out of room.
You know what I forgot about? Last year, Houston in the playoffs against the Chargers.
Yeah, when Ladd had 700 yards.
Destroyed them. I bet Houston in that game. So I remember that now, but man, they smoked them. That, you know what? I remember it more clearly now because the sentiment was, dude, the Chargers are going to come in and kill Houston. And I'm thinking, no, they're not. I didn't expect that type of game, but man, people, it's so easy to have that like recency bias with these teams. Cause as you remember I was like, hey, bet Houston first half spread in that week 18 game.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but
I do.
If they don't get out to an early start, they're fucked, right? They had that terrible Christmas Day showing against the Ravens. I think their only points might have been on a safety. And then they come in and blow the doors off the Chargers, but Ladd had 197 yards. I bet him to have the most rookie receiving yards in any other season. I'm running away with that. And somehow he finished like third or fourth.
Yeah, there were some names, but no, I think there, to me, where this showdown is probably won, as most are, is the target share. Those guys are going to get theirs. They're going to be busy. I know I would have said this about A.J. Brown if I was on the show last night, but that was an outlier, obviously. What does it look like? What is the distribution between, you mentioned Harris and Allen, Quentin Johnston, on the other side, Hollywood Brown? Are there other guys behind them? And then, of course, you have Kelsey, who's, he's a tight end in nature, but he's a prime target. That distribution's the key to the slate.
It's a huge key to the slate. And I think one key that could possibly unlock it is Hollywood Brown at captain.
Okay.
This is the prototypical situation where it's like, if Hollywood Brown doesn't get there, it doesn't matter anyway. This guy's going to finish with like 3, but I do think there is a world where Hollywood Brown, because they've talked, and who knows how much of this is just coach speak and quarterback speak and all that stuff. There's been a lot of talk about them saying, you know what, sure, we can be disciplined. We can methodically move the ball downfield, but we got to start trying to stretch the field more. Like Mahomes' accuracy on deep balls has not been as good over the past couple of seasons. I think they try for that this game. I expect them to try and open it up like they did back in the day with Tyreek Hill. Obviously Hollywood Brown isn't Tyreek Hill, but there's a possibility here that Brown could just have like 2 deep passes and end up being optimal captain at a really, really okay price point.
If you go to him at captain, you really are getting into territory where you could basically do whatever you want. And yeah, I mean, you don't have, of the cheap captains, I don't have a lot of other guys that really make any sense to me.
Now, I think the most sensible thing here, looking at the flex position, right, is just you're going to have a lot of Ladd and Worthy. I think you should have a decent amount of somebody like Hollywood Brown at his $5,800 price point. Also, he didn't come back till so late in the season last year. You have more time to build a rapport over the summer with these guys and Patrick Mahomes. But then you get down to like your Keenan Allen, your Quentin Johnston, those type of guys. I'm fine getting, just kind of getting them in there. Lambert Smith, I don't know where you're at on him and guys like Trey Harris, if you have a preference here, but we're getting pretty similar ownership on exposure to them, even though Harris, clearly drafted higher, both of these guys rookies, but Lambert Smith appeared to really impress a lot of people this preseason and throughout camp. So do I mind sprinkling these guys in? Not at all. And you know what? Let's just combo in tight ends here as well, because they're all pass catchers. I don't mind getting a little of Gadsden either. I don't mind getting some Will Dissly at his price point. I don't want to play these guys together, but we don't know what the snap share is going to look like at tight end for the Chargers. And Will Dissly had some good performances at times. So to me, I just want to get enough of these guys to where so I stopped talking in circles. I think this will make more sense to you what I'm saying, Ben. I would much rather mix and match and sprinkle in these type of guys than I would with like Kareem Hunt, Najee Harris, Eli Mitchell, Hassan Haskins. I would much rather do it with some of these kind of tertiary wide receivers and tight ends today at cheaper price points or similar price points.
Yeah, this is the difference between the slates in my mind from last night. You just mentioned like 5 or 6 guys that have reasonable paths to have an outlier game. And that's all you're asking. None of these guys are going to have crazy target share. None of these guys are going to have crazy opportunities, barring something really unlikely. But they're going to have a couple chances. And there's a lot of them. You mentioned Dissly. Conklin is another type. They've got so many guys on this roster that only need 1 or 2 looks. Juju, friend of the show, Saint, was asking, better cheap Mahomes attachment, Juju or Noah Gray? It's really close. We have them basically projected the same. I would prefer Juju, but you're splitting hairs there.
Might even be Tyquan Thornton, though.
Yeah, like that would be what would happen, because that's something.
I'm serious, too. Like, it's possible.
That guy's he's another candidate. He's on like 4 teams.
Yeah, he's all
like, he's certainly still on the Patriots. He's on the Bears, I think. He might be on the Bengals.
But I think the point you're making, though, is that when you look at a team like the Chiefs, obviously it's okay, we would expect that at the end of the day or at the end of the month, let's say at the end of the month, Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce would lead the team in target share while Rashee Rice is out. Sure. But there's so many other methods of production there. And there have been games where like 10 guys, no joke, have had 2 targets apiece or something like that. The Chargers aren't all that dissimilar. I expect a lot from Ladd, but outside of Ladd McConkey, this isn't the same Keenan Allen when it was him alongside an injured Mike Williams and Keenan just peppered every day. It's not the same guy. So you could make the argument that this is a similar makeup, a similar, potential target share for the Chargers outside of Ladd McConkey.
I mean, the teams themselves are really similar in a lot of ways. We talked about Herbert. I mean, again, Mahomes is Mahomes, but Herbert has a lot of weapons. He can move a little bit. They've got some running backs, but there's no clear hierarchy. And then, and listen, we all know about Ladd. You don't think the Chiefs know about Ladd? You don't think they're going to try to take him away tonight? And if they do, there's going to be other targets. And Quentin Johnston should have his opportunities, but how many times, and I'm a big fan of his, it's very possible that he's ineffective and they go elsewhere in this offense. This is a great showdown to me in the sense of they're all like this, but this is one you really want to work backwards, because like if the Chargers, if you think they get crushed, to me, it starts to erode some of the flyers that you want in the pool. And if you think they win this game, I think it really gives an easier time to figuring out what you want to do.
It's a great way to look at it.
This is a competitive game.
Yeah, it's a 3-point spread, neutral field. I'm not really interested in taking big stands for value. You can't convince me one way or another that Keandre Lambert-Smith or Trey Harris is better, or one or the other is better. I don't even know if you could convince me that Gadsden is worse than Dissly in a spot, or that Tyquan Thornton is worse than Juju. You know what I mean? Go down the list of all of these guys. I'm going to try and spread it out. If you're someone that's playing the mini-max, you're in an excellent opportunity to do something. If you're someone, you're playing the main, you're maxing the main or something like that. Or, Ben, even if you're just playing like 7 different lineups in these 3-max or single entry stuff, there's still going to be a lot of ways that you can mix and match and try and get exposure to all these guys. Or you could take a stand. Maybe you say, hey, I just want all of the Noah Gray. That's fine. I just don't think that'll be where I'm going here, because you're just trying to thread a needle into an impossibly small spot.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not just saying this because I believe in it, but it's true. Like, this is why the tools are so important for showdown slates, because they can give me a portfolio build. And when I do this, because I'm someone that I'll build 10 to 20 tonight, and I'll use the single lineup sim for a lot of them. If I'm not careful on my own, the slate locks, I'm like, great. And then I look and I'm like, why do I have 85% Trey Harris? Like, he kept landing in that spot, and I wasn't even cognizant of it. But with these tools, you get to see the totality of it, and you can lock guys in. You can go with randomness, and you make sure, okay, if Lambert Smith catches a bomb, or if Disley has his fluke touchdown, I have 5 or 10%, and I'm not dead.
Yep. And sometimes that's all you need. Like, that lineup could be the needle thread right there, right? Like the whole build. And another thing too is if you have them in a lineup, you can rest assured that the Sims is going to give you them in a lineup that makes sense around the entire build, and not just like a random type spot, that doesn't make any sense. Like, oh, I got Lambert Smith, but that sucks. I have Harris and I have, like all of. So it's not going to happen. Anyway, I got the strategy show coming up. We're not going to have time to build a lineup here, but this was an unexpected show. We wanted to do something for you guys anyway for Thursday or Friday night football. It's not something we typically get to do. I got the Sim strategy show with Greg coming up right after this, but I did just quickly before we go want to get your thoughts on how you play defense and the kickers here, because yesterday they were in a set. People can say whatever they want, but like pre-flop, they felt like a real necessity in a game like that. Today, yes, but also I don't know if I'm going to have I don't think I'll have as much of them as I typically would have, but I'll definitely have enough.
I'll have some, but I'm a little underwhelmed by it, particularly the kickers. And I'm not saying I know this, but they are kicking in a foreign stadium on a foreign surface in Brazil. I don't think that's a good thing. Someone is always kicking on their home turf, and a lot of times it's indoors. A lot of times it's a lot of things. I get a little freaked out by that. I wouldn't be shocked if we see teams just be incrementally more aggressive when they're in the gray zone of saying, you know what, let's go for it. And so for that, I'm under on these kickers. I'll have some, but no, not like Elliott and certain Aubrey last night.
Yo, go follow Ben at JazzRazBets, me at Loughy_D over on Twitter. Our handles are right there. And of course, Riley Dahl, driving for an hour. Perfect podcast. Thanks for hanging out, man. And yo, if you're still driving, flip it right over to the Sim Strategy Show coming up now. You guys are watching. What's that?
Go back out. Even if you're home, go back out for another hour.
Get back in your car. We'll see you guys soon. You're the best. Hit that thumbs up before you go. Remember, live before lock tonight as well. You'll want to stick around for that. They'll hit on everything and anything we missed on top of that. Check out Ben's Survivor video over on OddsShopper and all of his college betting stuff for Friday's slate. We'll see you back here soon. Bye-bye.